Today is the day Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve will be speaking later. Now, will interest rates finally start coming down? Will they come down by a quarter point, perhaps even 0.5? Or will he find some reason he is keeping them the same as he did last time? Now, if he does lower them by 0.25 points, which is what everyone's expecting, it's probably fair to say that the move is already priced in. Well, today let's look at the markets because price action is one of the best indicators for those of us that don't have all the access to behind the doors meetings and all the information. It often gets reflected in the price. And Paul's here with us today. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel and our family. Now, if you like me came into crypto because you realize here in crypto, you have the potential for massive life-changing gains. But you realize that really it plays out better over a 4 to 8 year period. That if you're buying low and selling high, it means you're buying during the bear market and selling during the bull market. And that those shifts are tremendous. And I haven't seen a better place my whole life to make the kind of gains that are available in crypto. Well, then you realize that this is a process of learning how to analyze crypto as an investment and make good decisions so that you're taking good risks. I like to think of it as you're becoming a solid, unshakable, savage crypto investor, much like a Navy SEAL of crypto investing. And you're in exactly the right place for that. So if you are also looking for deeper discussions, here on YouTube, we have a lot of discussions. Join our private Patreon group that allows you access to our private Discord, which is where much deeper discussion goes on about what's going on behind the scenes and other projects and further follow-up questions. Gives you better access to me and the rest of the Rainmaker family. Now, do note, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself. Paul looks at many different markets, and none of this to be taken as financial advice. So if you haven't already, though, do make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Help me welcome Paul from Definity.
Great to be here as always, especially on the day when they should cut rates by 25 basis points.
Yeah, it should start a trend of coming down, which I don't think he's done a single rate cut since Trump has been in office. I think he did 2 during the election race and nothing since.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter about the politics. The markets are dictating where the rates are going to move and the next move, and I can pretty much show you the outcome, or I'll be very surprised if this isn't what happens next. So if we just take it off log for a second, this is 3-month money, which is trading at 3.89%.
Oh, let me. Are you showing your chart? Let me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. That.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Here we go. 3.89% in 3-month money. Now, if rates are 4.25 and they've dropped to 4%, why is 3 months money trading at 3.89? So the market is obviously thinking that there'll be 2 rate cuts. Now, there's a very outside chance that there'll be 2 rate cuts of, well, there's a 50 basis points. We talk in basis points as opposed to saying a quarter point or half a point. So 25 basis points is a quarter point, 50 basis point is a half cut, it's a half percentage point cut. But I think it's very likely that it's going to be 25 rather than 50. And the reason why that might be a good thing, it might shake the market a little bit because they've been anticipating this for a while. But if they do 25 and then the market sells into that with any disappointment, then there's always this chance that there's going to be another 25 coming out later. Whereas if they do 50 in one go, that would send the market up maybe very aggressively, but then it'd be very unlikely that there's any more rate cuts. So that would change. That would be like a bigger disappointment, if you like, because the market is driven to a certain extent by liquidity. And that's all short-term stuff, because longer term, what is driving this is the macro environment, and that macro environment is still bullish. The stock market is forward-looking, and that forward-looking market is still bullish. I mean, it's broken out. This is the Dow. It's broken out from 45,000. We're still in an upward trend. Even if we get a correction back to this 45,000, 1,000 points down, it's still in this upward trend, and it's likely that this will go, squeeze higher over the course of this year, notwithstanding an interruption to the trend in the short term. Now, if you want to see what a trend like this is or how it can go, this is let me just take some of this other stuff off. This is the chart of the Toronto stock market. Now, that's the equivalent breakout point, and look where it is now. It's gone from like 25,000 to 29,000. These weekly bars, apart from one interruption, has been a straight line up. This is the sort of powerful bull market that we're talking about here. So this is why, broadly speaking, I think there's going to be more liquidity coming into the market. The equity markets, which do represent the most sensitive part of the economy, are pointing to kind of better times ahead. Now, I always preface that with later on, we know that there will be a correction, but we'll just have to wait for the signs that things have got too far. In between, we have seen things like gold and silver rally aggressively, and the dollar fall, which has been our core view for some time. And within that, risk on assets, Bitcoin included, have done well. The pockets of weakness and strength, the fragmentation in the altcoin market has recently been changing, where there's been undervalued projects that have suddenly had big rallies, and that's to be expected. And there should be more of that. And I say should because we never know 100%. It's all a probability thing, but there are some encouraging signs. ETH and its breakout was important, and it's, again, the chart is looking good for more, and things like Solana and Sui all look ready to go. And this kind of trickles down to the more and more risky stuff of which we've seen can break out and move really fast if you turn your back on it. And talking of sentiment, many people are still kind of on the sidelines. They've either think that that's over, and they're not interested, or they're looking at other things, and they think Bitcoin's going to hit its high and it's now a bear market, as they've said or kind of predicted many times, and they've been kind of wrong. So it doesn't feel like we've hit the ultimate top. It still feels like there's more to come. It feels like asset markets are still being pumped. One final thing is one of the key markets in Asia, which was China and Hong Kong. Those stocks are doing very well. They've been breaking up. And again, as I've said before, this was very much against the market's perception that this bear market was going to continue. And I still think they're fighting it. And I think competitively, China is in a kind of economic war or race with the US. And if they see the US doing well, I think they're just going to do the same. They're just going to try and support their economy as much as they can because they don't want to fall behind. So that kind of competitiveness will drive the market much higher over the next few months. Now, whether it pushes it to the point of breaking, we shall see. But for now, those trends are up. There's some fragmentation in Europe. The UK stock market, which is just coming down, it's just correcting a little bit. And some of the European equities are not doing that well. I mean, I say not doing that well. They're just sort of consolidating. Nothing looks as good as the US market. That's kind of the headline here. Now, whether they will get bought up, I suppose no one really cares. It's only if the US is doing well and that money feeds out into, other risk on assets, things like gold, Bitcoin, and altcoins and the like. So that's the most important thing. Is the US growing? Is there more liquidity? Are bond yields coming down? And the answer to all of those questions at the moment seems to be yes.
Yeah. So Chris had a comment here. We are live. So appreciate your comments, everyone. Just going through sales in the house. All right. right. Chris asked 50. Well, he said 50 points would indicate fear. Jay Powell does 25 indicates they'll be accommodating a softer market, meaning more future rate cuts. That would send the market higher. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that would be spot on. I mean, it wouldn't 50 would it be fair? I mean, you can read it any way you want. It would be very strange to go from no cut, no cut, no cut, kind of politically fighting Trump over it, and then going, all right, then 50. It seems like there should have been a more gradual move towards 50, and that there would have to be a real worry that the economy is slowing and slowing fast. So unless there's some data that jobs markets have been a bit weaker and the inflation numbers have been a bit better. Well, better. I mean, they've been in line, so it wouldn't make any sense. It would just be like that. That's a really weird move, and the markets kind of work on the basis of expectation. I totally agree. 50 wouldn't be right, but it's sort of 95% going to be 25. So um, we shall see what happens. It would be strange, but stranger things have happened. They did shock the market by raising rates at a very fast clip, especially when their forward guidance at that stage was that they weren't going to raise rates. So they've been known to wrong foot the market. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, agreed. Well, what are you keeping an eye on, Paul? As you kind of went through some of the world markets, what have you been watching closely?
Yeah, just really pretty much what I've just shown you there. I mean, in terms of Bitcoin and ETH, which are on the list, Bitcoin I still think is got more upside. It's been consolidating, it's come down, and now it's rebounding again. And we're seeing, if we go to the where is it, the fear and greed index? Where is that? That's probably here somewhere. Still very neutral, isn't it? So it feels like you can see with the picks that we've got this week, we've got like 3 or 4 picks. It shows you that people are taking their eye off the ball, and that's kind of a good thing. We've kind of come out of a summer lull, lull, if you like. Volumes have gone a bit lower, and September, October is a bit of a nervous period. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold today. September, October is a bit of a nervous period in the markets, or has been in the past. So sometimes we see corrections. So there's a little bit of pensiveness out there, but overall, I think the market is still, if you haven't bought Bitcoin at 115,000, are you going to jump in and start buying it now? Probably not. It's probably going to take some news to make you want to buy it. Now, you might say, well, hang on, if you're saying that no one wants to buy it at 115,000, how's it going to go up? And it will go up because there are people out there who are forward looking and they will buy it, or they can see the economic environment improving, liquidity improving, and having other reasons why they will buy it. Getting out of the dollar being another one, maybe geopolitical risk being another, and perhaps they will be buying it. And when all those factors then come together to make it really compelling for everyone to buy it, that might be when it's too late. That contrary opinion theory trade. So we want to see it go up, and we want to see it go up in an orderly way. As I've said before, there are times when the market goes up in a straight line, and it might feel great, but it's just unsustainable. And we want the market to go up in an orderly way, and it seems to be doing that. It's going up, has a consolidation pullback. Did it here, came back, and then went up again. Consolidation pullback. Now it's ready to go up again. That's absolutely fine. Now with ETH, it is playing below this major high, which is what you'd expect, but it's sitting up there. It's kind of coiling up, getting ready for the next breakout. Hasn't quite done it yet, but this is a really nice technical pattern, and it usually resolves in a further bull phase. So I'm still bullish on both, except that Bitcoin is a bit more of a sideways market, whereas ETH has got a better technical pattern, and that might also be reflected in the spread, which this looks very much like it's based. We got this the Ethereum spread made a double bottom, but that was where we called the reversal, and then it was a move up to this area, which it went very quickly and then over. Now it's consolidating a bit of an overshoot, so it might repeat what it did here, and then the next phase should be up again. But this on its own is as a synthetic trade. If it was just this, it looks like this has got more to go. So that would imply, it could be that both fall, obviously, and Bitcoin falls faster than ETH, but it looks more likely that ETH is going to go up faster than Bitcoin. Maybe Bitcoin consolidates and ETH gets the breakout. So overall, it's still looking interesting. And as I mentioned, gold and silver and all the other things. The dollar index, I guess we should have a shout out to that. That's starting to swoon again to the downside, testing very close to the low of 30th of June. But I think Trump wants the dollar to be weak anyway. This competitive race against China. It's China, they have a weaker currency, and that's what helps their exports. So maybe this is a counterbalance to the tariffs, and that's what Trump wants. Whether it's right or wrong is kind of immaterial. This is the direction of the market, but it has the net effect of causing asset prices to rise because people borrow in dollars, and if they borrow in dollars and the dollar goes down, they pay back less money. So it kind of is a win-win situation for anyone who's borrowing in dollars. So there we go. That's the it also makes the US cheaper. So if you're investing in another country, investing in US assets, buying those assets makes them cheaper. So it brings more money in as well. So those things are really important. And this trend, if you take a step back, it wouldn't be out of pocket for it to go all the way back down to this level, which is 90. That's quite a long way to go. I mean, it's a huge move, would be a huge move in terms of currencies, but that certainly looks like the direction. This was the trend up. This is the reversal. This is the move down. It's taken a bit of time, but it's getting there.
Yes. Could we take a look as well at Bitcoin dominance?
Yeah. So Bitcoin dominance, again, this was one that looked like it was going down. This was the sharp move, the first sharp move. If I put it on a daily chart, you can see a bit more detail. So it dropped 66, dropped really heavily, had a little consolidation, and then dropped again, which is what we were expecting from that move. Here it's slowed a little bit, but if you're going to read the things like moving averages, you see we've got a crossover. That's actually called, I think you pretty much call that a dead cross, which is when both moving averages are turning down and they cross over. The shorter one crosses through the longer term moving average. They're both falling. All that means is the market's falling fast, right? But you can see that in the price action. The next big support point, I should say, not resistance. But next support point comes in around 54 to 55%. So it feels like it's heading that way, and then we might get a sharper reaction. But that seems like a pretty sustained trend, apart from this last move here, where it's dug its heels in around this support 57, seems to be on the way down, which is again, I think, a good sign that the altcoins have got more to go on the upside.
All right. Well, that's Bitcoin and ETH. Could we look at the ETH chart itself, or just ETH versus Bitcoin?
We did look at the ETH chart, yeah. So ETH here is
we did. That's right.
Yeah, on the weekly chart, taking out a little bit of the noise, you can see that it's compressing just below the prior high, which is something I like. And look, given what is this percentage move? It's absolutely massive, isn't it? So from this low up to this high, someone's saying it hasn't really moved. Remember, they made that comment. Well, that's only 258%, which is crazy in that short term, and 19 weeks or whatever it was. That is a aggressive bullish move, and it may not be over. But for it to consolidate like this is not uncharacteristic. The markets have got to pause at some point. And as I've said before, it's a good thing that it does it. it may well come off again. I don't know. You know, short-term moves, you can't predict every move, but the general trend, if you again take a step back, I think that this whole area here has been a consolidation, and we're just getting ready to break out. So it should be the next sort of surprising phase for the rest of the market. We shall see. We shall see.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at Aethir. Their ticker symbol is ATH. And they did a big move today.
Yeah, there we go. So this is kind of the thing. We're seeing the big moves being concentrated to the upside and surprising to the upside. And for that reason, it's showing that, you know, liquidity is now falling from the bigger coins downwards, which is what one would expect. But until we see evidence of it, you know, we can't. You can say you expect it to happen, but we want to see evidence of it, as you know. So, what is interesting about all of this is how quickly it's happening. Like, so some of the charts are just looking very neutral, or maybe even slightly bearish, and then bam, there's a big about turn. Now, there's not really that much data on this, unless I've got another chart that I can look at to get more data. Maybe it did start in June 24 and it's only been going for, you know, just over a year, which seems likely, but it's very difficult for me to want to jump on a chart like this, having seen it kind of do the majority of the breakout move. So I'd feel a little late to the party, especially when the whole chart looks this way, i.e. we've got a high of 9 cents and a low of 2.6 cents. And we're kind of at 2/3 of the move of the way up. I could justify buying it here with a stop here, but I think I'd prefer to see something that's got a bit more history, because without doing a bit of due diligence on what this chart is, the market that they're in, market cap size, etc., it's, I think I could find it, although I look at things technically, I think I could probably find something that looks more interesting. But having said that, we have got a really nice build up of resistance at that 9 cents area. And if I were to buy it here, if I could only trade this, it would be a buy, and I would put a stop below here. So this would be my risk. Buying at 6 cents, stop at 5 cents. Where I'd get more excited about it is if it could take out this 9 cents area, because there is so much resistance. It's tried twice to get through there. Both occasions failed. So if it goes for it again, that would be a really big sign. Again, it's not much data, so I have to preface that with, you know, there's a lot more risk involved with trading something like this. But I can see why you'd want to look at it. And the move on a daily chart seemed to come out of nowhere. So quite what's happened there, I'm not sure. But at least the gains seem to be sticking. You know, it was one move, bit of profit taking, and then it's continued up through this resistance, which is a good sign. Caveat of a correction, it's got to happen at some point, hasn't it? But the big support level should be on its pullback around this 5.5 cents area. That was the previous resistance. It should now use that as a shelf level of support.
I'm just looking a little bit deeper at their fundamentals and see what I like. So this is Aethir's chart here, going back. Looks like it only has price history to 2024, which likely it came out during then. Now, that's a really high market cap, almost $1 billion market cap for a project that launched not all that long ago. Now, you get from here that Aethir is in the AI space. They go a little bit further to say Aethir is a revolutionary DePIN, so decentralized physical infrastructure play, with its advanced and distributed enterprise-grade GPU compute infrastructure tailored for AI and gaming. Aethir aims to serve enterprise AI clients who need the world's most powerful AI chips, such as NVIDIA's H100s. So who was the technology? I like CoinMarketCap because it gives these kind of things. The founders of Aethir, Daniel Wang and Mark Ryden and Mac Lyden, have diverse backgrounds contributing to cryptocurrency creation, blockchain technology, various blockchain projects. Okay, so that gives a little bit of an idea. Let's see it. Sometimes it tells us on the right why all of a sudden it took off. And I'm not seeing why. Okay. So no information there. AI within the crypto space is interesting because blockchain and AI somewhat go together, but a lot of your AI projects that are in the crypto space are just kind of scammy to me. They don't really have any strength, any fundamentals behind them. It's just like, oh, we have AI and we're a crypto project and AI crypto is huge. It's like, yeah, but what do you do? Well, we're developing AI. Yeah, that does what? Well, that helps people trade better. Oh, okay. So your AI, a really small company, is going to help people trade better. There's a lot of that. And those ones are just, most of them doomed to fail, in my opinion. This Aethir, I don't know enough about what they do, but looking at their Twitter, like clearly this is not one of those companies I was just talking about. Looks like they may have recently partnered with Chainlink. Well, no, Aethir welcomes Chainlink to the AI Unbundled Alliance. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see. As far as the chart goes, I think the AI narrative is going to come back really strong in crypto. So look, its price just recently doubled. I don't know. Let's see if it shows what the token investing is like. Doesn't show a token vesting schedule. Tells us that the total supply is 42 billion. It looks like 12 billion in supply. So a whole bunch of the token has not been put out there yet. Something to be concerned about. I don't have enough information whether I would make to say I'd make a buy or a sell decision on this. So I'm just gonna have to say wait. Let's see. Let's take a look at our next one. Let's look at Immutable X. This is one I know a lot about.
So this is a very nice looking chart. It's very interesting. What we have, this kind of breakout here and consolidation. Oh, just checking I've got my mic on because I coughed earlier and turned it off. I have got it on. So this consolidation is just broken out from, which is good, but it's more because it's forming this bigger base. So you can see this is a 1, 2 coming up to this 82 cents area, which would complete a base, and it's a big base, which would imply that it has more upside. Now, the elephant in the room, of course, is that we've got this big downward trend line, and it's still below that downward trend line. The question is, what do you do when you've got a big downward trend line? So the trend rate, the main trend is down, but you've got a reversal pattern where this is indicating that the market's going up. Well, for me, the first signal that comes to you is the one that I would take. So the fact that it looks like it's forming a base would mean that a little nibble here and maybe adding to a proper position on a break of 82 cents is a good short-term strategy. Now, if it gets to this line, if it gets towards 110, and remember that's falling in price as time goes on, then we'd look to see how it trades at that level. If it goes straight through it, then all the better. It's an even better buy. If it just stops there and comes off, then it's telling us that, yeah, perhaps this downward trend is still in effect. So we really need to kind of wait and see. But overall, it is an interesting looking chart. And as I say, I like the fact that this is a big base. Usually when the markets are ready to have a sustainable and fairly large trend, you have a bigger base like this. Smaller bases can happen, but then the market corrects. So this has got a bit of history as well. So I prefer that because it's got more liquidity, more players, less individual positions can push it around. So I would be reasonably optimistic. Now, of course, it still has to break this 82 cents point. That is the final trigger for the base. That possibly might not happen. It could just stop here and come down. So we should really come back to this and see how it trades in the next couple of weeks. We've got a bullish crossover from the moving averages as well. So some of the system traders will be seeing a buy signal there as well, or close to it if they've got different parameters. But yeah, definitely an interesting chart. I would be tempted to, as I say, take a small buy here and then add to it if and when it breaks 81 cents. Where I would exit out, well, I could put an upward trend line from this low up to here. And as I've always said, I need a parachute level out when things go wrong. And that's where I would get out of the market when it breaks, or if it breaks this trend line. But really, this area here, I think, gives it reasonable room. So 59 cents, below 59, below 60 cents, 59, sort of 58, that sort of area. That's where I'd have my stop.
Yeah. Now, I'm a big fan of the narrative of blockchain gaming, and Immutable X is one of the bigger players in there, and they provide essentially an ETH layer 2 that works well for gaming. Really inexpensive transaction costs, much quicker and lower cost. The little bit of history on Immutable X. So way back in the day, Coinbase helped fund a company called Gods Unchained, which was bringing kind of one of the first trading card games on blockchain, and they released on ETH. And so you would buy it with ETH and you would open your packs on ETH. And back then, like, ETH transaction costs were really, really cheap. This was the bear market of 2019, 2020. But in 2021, as you saw, ETH, well, especially even in mid 2020, when the DeFi summer happened, ETH transaction costs went through the roof. They realized, oh my gosh, we got to create a better solution because blockchain gaming can't be on ETH. The price is too volatile. So they created Immutable X. Coinbase helped back it, and some other players. Anyway, so Immutable X is, I think, going to be a big deal this bull run. Now, there's a lot of good options now that they didn't used to have, like Avalanche, and Solana is a decent option, but other options as well. Immutable X will be, I think, one of the big ones for this bull market. And when it hit down here, I was saying what an amazing deal it was when it hit down below 40 cents, and that it shouldn't be that cheap, but then went all the way up to 3 something. It's come back down and hit around 40 cents again, which I said was too good to be true, an amazing deal. And now it's back up at 70, but it's still low. It's just not as low as it was. It was an unbelievably good deal. And now it's just a good deal. So I like Immutable X. Even at 70 cents, I'd say it's a buy. It's just not strong of a buy as it was before. But I think in the bull run, Immutable X does quite well, doing 10, 20, 30, 50 X from here. So I give that a buy. Let's take a look at MNT, and then we have some viewer picks.
MENT was one.
Sorry, MNT. I misspoke.
You know, that's okay. MNT. Now, we definitely looked at this, didn't we? Either last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm pretty sure we did, because this chart, this chart looks familiar. And if I didn't say it was a buy through 140, I don't know what I was saying, because this was very clear resistance, build up 1, 2, 3, and on a breakout, it's had a pullback. So we've had the breakout already. Actually, it couldn't have been last week because too many days, isn't it? That's passed. But maybe a couple of weeks ago, the breakout point through 140, it couldn't have been clearer, and that's happened, and it's sticking towards those highs. Now we might get a chance of a pullback towards 140 again. That should be a floor now, and it's for the way that I look at charts. This for me is a buy because it's now kind of moving into a new phase. It's broken through this area. This is all a consolidation, and we should be looking for higher levels. Now, what levels? Well, there's no resistance to speak of, so we can only talk about psychological levels from here. So, excuse me, probability, that's the direction of the trend. The rate of the move, yeah, sure, maybe it needs a pullback. It won't be a straight line. Caveat, because of course all altcoins have a greater amount of risk, but that goes with the reward that comes with them too. But yeah, for me, if it wasn't a buy before, I don't know why I didn't say it was. But it's broken out, given a clear signal, and yeah, I couldn't really say anything different at this point. Obviously, a stop has to come in too, so below 130 would be a good place for a stop. Give it a little bit of room below the 140 support point, which it shouldn't break downwards through that. So a little bit of room just because of volatility, etc. And we could draw an upward trend line as well. That'd be fairly aggressively to the upside. So maybe that will slow, but it's interesting. You have to remind me what this one is or what they do, because I can't remember.
Yeah, they're a layer 2 solution with CK rollups. Mantle is pioneering on-chain ecosystem dedicated to revolutionizing the future of finance and blockchain scalability, seamlessly bridging traditional finance and decentralized finance through innovative products like Mantle Network. But essentially, ZK rollups, which is one of the ways to provide fast, reliable, scalable blockchain. Anyway, let's see. MNT hits a new all-time high following its transition from optimistic rollups to ZK validity rollup. This architectural upgrade, leveraging SP1, delivers fast transactional finality. Anyway, so that's probably what got in the news and got people excited about it. On the chart is breaking its previous highs. Now, this is another bear market launch token. The token came out and was tradable during the bear market. It's not really shown what its size can be yet. Its market cap, though, is already at 5.31 billion. It's a behemoth already with a lot of expectations behind it. So it's solidly in the blue chip category. Where can it go? Looks like half of its token supply is already in circulation, with its market cap at 5.3 billion and fully diluted value at 10.16 billion. Okay, so that's interesting. You know, it's okay. I agree with you on the price action. I think as we get into this part of the bull market, one of the things to watch is Bitcoin's dominance. And we've seen Bitcoin climb that huge dominance wall, and then it starts to fall. And as it starts to fall, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's price is really falling. It often means that a lot of the money is shifting into altcoins. First into ETH, but then larger chains like Solana, maybe Cardano, things like Mantle. And then it shifts into other things. So it's almost like when you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave, and at first there is nothing going on, and still nothing going on. And then nothing. And then you hear a kernel or two pop, and then a few more, and then a few more. So we're getting some of those early kernels popping off a little bit. We're heading towards the right thing. This is what we want to be seeing right now. Mantle, one of those. Immutable X. I'm not sure what's caused the breakup to the upside with Immutable X. I wouldn't say blockchain gaming is running right now. But Immutable X was vastly undervalued. I don't know why it went back down to like 40 cents. It shouldn't have, but yet it did. So that's a great buy for those that understand investing is buy low, sell high. 40 cents was an amazing low price. Mantle, crazy how we hit this point back in July where prices went too cheap. And I was saying that a lot. I was like, prices are too cheap right before the bigger run. This is crazy how cheap things are. And we're seeing it's gone from 57, 58 cents all the way to $1.60 in just a few months. 2 months. Crazy. All right. Let's look at some of the viewer picks. We've got Gonzo asked us if we can look at Galaxy, GLXY, is a crypto and AI stock. Interesting. I wonder, is that Galaxy Digital led by, or Galaxy Finance? What's his name? Mike Novogratz's company?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
yeah,
you know,
that would be Galaxy Digital.
Yeah, when it comes to charts of stocks, obviously this is I'm not going to give a buy or a sell because I don't know how that sort of plays with regulation and stuff. So just in case, I'm just going to say, I'm going to give my opinion of what the chart looks like, and you can kind of infer what I'm trying to say from it, but I'm not going to explicitly say buy or sell. This looks very interesting, and it is actually at a interesting point on the chart as well. You can see this resistance here is literally where it is now. So if it goes through that, that would normally indicate that the market has probabilistically more upside. The rate at which the trend has moved has been a bit more aggressive recently, which again kind of implies that there is more upward pressure than downward pressure. And if we were to take a step back, this could be considered to be a big, basing pattern as well. It's also in the right space for what should be coming next and what could be getting pretty hot towards the end of the year and into next year. So unless there is some breakdown of this trend, it does seem more probabilistic that this level will break, and it will extend this move. So I think you can kind of read into what I'm saying about this chart from that. And it has a very nice trend line, which just happens to line up really well with the two previous lows. So that's something that personally I would use, something like this trend line, to indicate when I think things are breaking down or the rate of the trend is slowing to the point where if I were long, I'd be exiting a position. So yeah, it's interesting to see something like this, which is connected, but also a separately traded stock. And I think I'm going to be watching this kind of as I watch a few key stocks like MicroStrategy and obviously some of the big tech plays, but things like this are interesting to put in the mix as well, because maybe we'll see some signals in a top and something like this come ahead of some of the other markets. So it's definitely could be useful for a canary type trade. So yeah, interesting.
That's interesting to have it up so tremendously. So it went during the bear market down to 250. So it is up like 13, 14x from the bear market. And if you look back at 2020, it went all the way to 50 cents. So since 2020, it is up like 60 something X from 2020, which for a stock is amazing. But I think this is basically kind of a mixture of stocks and crypto. A lot of their holdings are in the crypto space. Mike Novogratz is a frequent commentator on what's going on with crypto and has been invested since the early ETH days in crypto, and he made a fortune off of ETH. Good suggestion. That was a lot of fun. All right, let's take a look at Big A's comment. CIFR, CIFR Bitcoin mining.
Yeah, so same same caveats. Again, maybe there's a bit more history on this. It seems to be the beginnings around 2020. Not a lot to read into what's happened there. There's not much history, but what can one say other than that there is a lot of upward pressure and it looks like it's heading towards that prior high, and that would be a very key resistance point. 100% retracement usually sees some form of resistance reaction. But again, it's in the same kind of space as the macro bull market. So one would expect it to test that level, and we'll see if it can break it. But yeah, another interesting one, which I will put down as put it with the other stocks that I use to kind of measure the health, if you like, of the crypto space. So again, because it's a stock, I can't give a buy or sell, and even when we do that, I'm sure you know that these aren't my buy or sells. They're not. I'm not expecting anyone to do that. It's just a gauge of how I'm reading the market. It's not a literal buy or sell, even when we're looking at crypto. It's just the probability of the way the chart looks on a certain day at a certain time. But yeah, this is interesting. It's really, really good to look at these stocks, which I might not have seen otherwise, and to see them looking bullish like this. So yeah, looks good.
Jump to the next one. Fowler asked if we could take a look at Sinverse. Small cap who looks ready to break out. Gameplay looks a bit like Grand Theft Auto.
It's funny, they're all stock picks. I can't believe it. Okay.
This will be a crypto. You see it there, a few down, Sinverse.
Yeah, no, but oh, it is a crypto. Okay, good. Back to business as usual. Well, this is clearly broken out, hasn't it? It's gone from being what I would describe as a definite wait and to be on the sidelines to suddenly moving up. But you can tell from the price action that this is a very thinly traded market. I mean, what on earth was going on here? If that's real, how on earth can you trade something that has all these spikes? Is this another spike? Is it about to reverse? I just don't know. Again, that is the problem with the joy of buying something that's very liquid, that has very volatile moves and potential trends, is set against the potential for those moves to evaporate very quickly as well, and things to turn downwards. That's risk and volatility. And if you use margin, then it can make it even worse. So you have to be very, very careful. But having said that, the question technically, and that's the way I look at things, is this making some form of reversal? Looks like it. We can justify an upward trend here. Maybe it's got a bit ahead of itself and needs to come back and form another low before we can then start to project higher. We have a similar problem to the other chart that we looked at, in the sense that there is still a downward trend to contend with. And, even say, well, I suppose that one is broken. If that was the prior high and we're going to say it did trade up there, just take it off this magnet because it's not allowing me to put it there. We still got this downward trend. I'd have to find out whether that's real price action, but it does affect the chart a lot as to whether we draw the line here or somewhere else. And if we take a step back, you can see the trend has been down. The trend was down to here. We formed a base, and then it had a very decent rally, which didn't extend. It stopped at this 1.9 cents level, and it's been going down kind of ever since. Is this start of a new trend? It looks like it. I mean, that's exactly what we'd want to see, a change in market dynamics and the development of a higher low. So if I were to only be able to trade one thing and it was this, I would say it's a buy. And I would put my stop below this line and see what happens. So yeah, it sometimes it takes a bit longer for these bases to form, but it's certainly moving very aggressively. And what else can we ask of it other than to do that, to show the trend is changing? Resistance points along the way at this 0.21688. That was the prior kind of floor. So anyone who's bought it into there, they may be bailing out at this point if it hits there. So I'd look for some resistance around there. But overall, if this is going to be a proper base, it should have a bit more to go. So interesting one. Definitely an interesting one. Definitely one we should come back to.
Yeah. it is interesting. Let me share some things that I'm looking at. So their price by the uninitiated looks like it's dead. And it's funny, we were having this conversation last night on Omi is my homie. And one of the comments from one of the viewers was like, oh yeah, everything is pumped that's not dead. And so in his mind, if it hasn't pumped yet, it's dead. And that's not the case. A lot of times what happens is some of the narratives haven't hit yet. And this one just barely breaking out. Now, will it survive? It may. And the reason I think it pumped all of a sudden is because a fairly decent sized crypto YouTuber just covered it, which brought up its awareness probably. But will this one do well in a blockchain gaming run? Probably. It's along the line of Grand Theft Auto. Now, if you look at the gameplay, so I was checking out the Twitter, and here you can see kind of what the gameplay looked like. So a little bit basic. He's driving around some Lambos. And so gameplay is kind of basic for what people expect right now. But if this is the best Vice type game in the when blockchain gaming hits, it's going to do tremendously well. Now, there's rumors that Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed so that they could put it on the blockchain. And perhaps that's true. But we don't know when that will release. And I do think blockchain gaming could be running anywhere from a couple months from now, like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months from now. And so maybe this is well positioned that this might be like a 100x gainer. Its market cap is fairly low at 1.28 million. So, and it was even cheaper. It was below that mark just recently. It's almost doubled. It might pull back from here. If this pump just because of the recent coverage, then it will just come back down usually a little bit. Anything in this zone is probably a really good price. You can get it on Pancake Swap is the easiest place, but you can get on MEXE, Gate.io, KuCoin, and a few other markets out there. Let's see. One other thing I want to look at is unlock market cap versus fully diluted market cap. So most of the tokens are in circulation. I actually like this. I would rate this one a buy. It's a risky buy in that it's fairly low market cap. It may not survive till the blockchain gaming run happens, but I don't think that run is very far away. And I think in a bull market where blockchain gaming's narrative hits, I think this does pretty well. Like, I don't think it goes into the billions of dollars in market cap, but because its market cap is so low, if it just goes to $110 million market cap or $140 million market cap, that's 100x from here. So I like this one. All right, good suggestion. Let's take a look at Flare. And I've got to step away for a minute. So I'll be right back. And then I'll look at some fundamentals on Flare.
Excuse me. Okay. So I'll wait for you to come back in so I know that you're there. And I'll keep talking until you come back. So Flare, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to say on Flare at the moment, which is fairly typical, isn't it? But it's kind of caught in a compression, a very long-term compression, and we're just waiting for a breakout. And I think this has been the way of it for some time. But if we kind of take the central point of around, an approximate central point of the chart, we can see there's been no overall dominance in either direction. It's been playing in a fairly consistent, I mean, you can almost see the same time frame in terms of the upward trend and downward trends and their rates. So it needs to do something to indicate that it's breaking out of this phase, and that will happen when we get a break of either this resistance line or this support line. So whichever comes next. Now, going back to the macro position, for me, that's still bullish. And therefore, if I had to say 60-40, which way I'd expect it to go, it would be to the upside. So I'd have to wait for a signal, but it's a little too neutral at this point for me. And I say that because I think I could probably find something else that looks technically better. But if I'd found other things and I still wanted to take another trade, then I could potentially justify putting something in this and waiting to see if it takes the high out. But it's more of it's closer to a kind of 50-50 trade than I would normally like. I'd normally prefer something like this to be a bit clearer. So it's more from a macro market environment that's making it look bullish than the chart itself. But I suppose we could also say that the low here in April 25, since then, if we were to like take everything else out, all things being equal, this trend, this most recent trend, is bullish. So we could give that some credence and give that a bit more of the upward trajectory probability. But there we have we had this attempt to break the trend line here, and you see it spiked off, and now it's coming back for another go, which in some ways is a good thing, because it hasn't just broken it and then spiked and then reversed hard. It's tried to break it, it's consolidated, and now it's going for another run. And usually breaks like that are more sustainable. So we shall see. Still needs to do the work. It still needs to break the trend line. But I would say 60-40 is to the upside. Could be persuaded to take a small position on that.
Yeah, it looks like it really wants to break through this trend. Now, Flare is one that came out during the bear market, and it's related to extending the capabilities essentially of XRP, allowing smart contracts and other things to happen on it. Now, Sale, who is in the chat here, is our expert really on the XRP Flare market in the Discord. You're missing out on the wealth of information that he has on this subject, not only Flare, but XRP and the other ISO coins. And so, like, it looks like his price action, curious, it might be just about ready to break through that finally to the upside. Market cap, let's look at where things are at. Now, normally I don't like market caps in this price range. I would give this one an exception because I also have that same exception for XRP. I think there are some things coming together for XRP and for Flare and a few of the ISO coins that I think might hit so much money moving into them that even though they're a fairly large market cap coin, they could have a huge, huge pump from here. So that's what I'm looking for. Now let's look at the total supply is 103 billion Flare with a circulating supply of 74 billion. So that means about 72% or so are in circulation. I like to see that. So a lot of the tokens are out there already. Yeah. Where could something like this go? The only hesitation I have with XRP and Flare is that we really haven't seen the kind of pattern like this before. That XRP, I think, is going to be the major payment rail for many of the financial networks across the world, and Flare supporting that as well as some other ISO coins. In that environment, the amount of liquidity that comes into them is unknown. We've never done this before, but it's almost like the next wave of the internet. And so that's why I normally am not interested in things with such a high market cap like 1.73 billion, because I like to look at things that have 50 or 100x potential. But I have to say that even from where XRP and Flare at, they might still have 50 to 100x potential in this bull market. Good suggestion, Sale. Flare assets should launch Eon. Oh, end of month, launching advanced DeFi for the XRPL. So end of month, they should be launching some big updates. That would probably cause it to break through. Are we covering OMI today? Well, let's cover OMI. Its price action has been interesting.
Yeah, so we got the breakout, didn't we? And the correction, and then it broke out again. So definitely very volatile. We've got the floor level now, which it shouldn't break below. I think we could call it a zone between sort of 2597 and 2800. I'm not going to put all the zeros in, you know where they are. It's I don't like things that are this volatile, to be honest. It's because if it can move this much in one day, where will it be tomorrow? It could be up here and it could be down here. But if it can settle down and maybe range trade for a bit in this zone, it should be ready for the next move up. I mean, I think the last time we looked at it, it was classified as a buy. And I think that has to be still the case because it's broken the trend line. I'm going to give it a bit of leeway because it's volatile and it's made a base. And the big level for me here is this support and this resistance to 25.98. If it gets back into that zone or closes for a week below there, then it goes back into the danger zone. But whilst it's above, and it is above, and it's one that has been on the move, it's I would consider it a buy. I would just like the volatility to settle down a little bit, and for it to give a smoother trend rate to the upside. I think that would help a lot. We've also, on the upside, as mentioned before, this big floor level, which was below this, was considered to be underwater, and it played along there for a very long time. So it's not surprising why it's come off there. But a couple of attempts to break it would be very good technically. It would be implying that it really does want to get through it. And I'd feel much better if and when it gets through here. And I know, of course, if you're long, that's what you want. But I mean in the way that the chart looks, because it would imply that there's a smoother upward trend. It would imply that it's taken out a very significant resistance point and it's made a base and it's moving, in a way that it's going with the other altcoins. When it was going down, some other altcoins were going up, which is a bit of a red flag. But now it's moving and confirming that it could be part of the next big bull market. And so that is why it's encouraging that it is actually moving here. And compared to some, actually moving ahead of them as well. So yeah, that shakes out into a headline of yes, it's a buy. Yes, there's still some challenges. It's not clear blue sky, but it's done a lot recently that's been bullish, and that's got to be acknowledged.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I buy fundamentally, and I don't mind buying cheap and waiting to see how it plays out. So, I like buying cheap, and I would love to accumulate more OMI. And maybe this price zone is just gone. I'm a little bit hopeful that it does come back, and that might be just, wishing. We'll see though. Look at this big break to the upside, and then it corrected downwards. I don't know if it's time yet for digital collectibles to really run that narrative to run. And if not, then OMI might settle back down, that people might get scared again and settle back down while the focuses on other things that are more ready to run, some of the blue chips and other things. So maybe I'm being overly hopeful, but I would like to accumulate a lot more OMI than I have, and I have a very sizable position. It's one of my larger bags. But I'm hoping some of my other things pump and that OMI comes cheap, because I really like this one and would like to accumulate more. Is it still a buy at this price? Yes. And even this price is below my dollar cost average. So it's like I would be super happy if my dollar cost average was exactly where the price is today. It's higher than this. So it's definitely a buy. Do I hope it gets cheaper? Yeah, I do. I hope it gets cheaper. All right. Cool. We got time for this last one. MBG, multi-bank group, please.
That doesn't sound like a crypto, does it? It sounds like another stock.
Yeah, I know today is like, let's look at stocks day.
Yeah.
Stalin was clarifying Flare offers yield for illiquid projects, which will be interesting.
Maybe it is a crypto because it's not coming up. Yeah, it is a crypto. So yeah, that's not looking very good to me. Unfortunately, very illiquid. You can see it's extremely illiquid, and it's in a fairly strong, well, very strong downward trend here. Something needs to happen before it would technically improve. This is all very volatile, and it's quite new as well. So yeah, I think that's not one that I'd like to really give much of an opinion on, just because there's not enough data. And I mean, look, we could definitely come back to it when there's a bit more data. Trend is down for now, which I wouldn't be wanting to step in there unless there's something extreme. Well, I don't look at the fundamentals, but it'd have to be pretty compelling, and in an area that I can see, I've got foresight on, that I can see the market's missed, and therefore it'd be worth a buy, and it will come into kind of vogue further on. But technically, I couldn't. Even then, I'd still want to wait for the chart to turn around. So yeah, not for me at the moment. But yeah, definitely come back to it.
Yeah, Cosmos and RIP Omi. I think Omi's going to be just fine. Just not time yet. Cardano. All right. My snap comment. I didn't see Nat on there. Let me see if that came in, Blonde Bros. Sometimes some comments get edited out. I don't see it in the history at all. There's an automatic filter, so looks like Paul's pulling it up, so we can take a look at it.
Yeah, sure. Given that the other one, I mean, did you want to look at the Molly Bank group before we move on?
No, there isn't much for me to say on that. It looks like a disaster. Yeah. I would have to know what's going on with that, but that chart, like, I don't know. It doesn't look good.
I mean, look, things can always turn around very quickly as well. I would say, you know, we've seen it happen. It's just because the chart looks bad, it doesn't mean that's it. It just means that probability in this moment in time is not on its side. So, and the way technicals works is we try to buy things that are strong and leading the way up. So this is not looking like there's very much data. So we're getting some really new projects here, unless I've got oh, okay. So comment saying it's been around since 2000. Oh, right. It's just released a token. Okay, that's interesting. They've just released a token. Maybe that's an indication of something. Yeah, well, for the moment, we're gonna have to say that it's clearly someone's grabbing profits or doing something. We'll have to wait and see, give it a bit of time to get some history. Same here, really. There isn't really enough. The way the chart is trading, it looks extremely illiquid. You know, if it was coming down here, then it just suddenly turns around and goes back up here again. And we've got all these big spikes. Whether that's a data problem or whether it's a liquidity problem is really difficult to say. So I think I'd be pretty neutral on this one. But if there's something compelling about it, let's look at the you know, get a bit more history and then put it back in the comments. I'm quite happy to keep looking at these things because I know that they can turn around, or they will give signs that they're turning around. But it's just at the moment, you know, it's not fully fledged, and therefore we've got to be a bit more cautious. Doesn't mean it can't go up. Maybe there's something I've missed, but for the moment, I think it's a wait.
Take a look at multi-bank group here. So I did look it up. Okay, it is substantive. Based on that chart, I saw that and I was like, that looks like not worth looking into. But it's almost $100 million market cap. So this is a legitimate company that's tokenizing assets on the blockchain. Now, ultimately, why, my question is like, why does their token make sense? Why do they need a token? And a lot of times they release a token, they don't need one. They release it because in this type of environment, they can release one and it will sell just based on their narrative. So maybe that's what they've done. But it goes way back. Founded in 2005, Multibank Group has grown into one of the most regulated and respected financial institutions in the world. 25 global offices, 2 million plus clients. They deliver institutional grade infrastructure, deep market access, and unwavering compliance. Now, for me, I'm not buying these type of assets because it's like, why does their token make sense? Is this a narrative that will do well into the bull run? Probably, but look at their vesting curve is still pretty sharp coming into it. Their market cap is actually fine, but realize only 10% of their tokens are in circulation. So they're going to go through some punishing vesting right in the middle of this as things kick off. They're going to have some big drops of additional tokens, which is just going to mute how it does. Probably it's going to do decent though in the coming bull run. It's just an opportunity cost. If I had the option of holding this or holding stocks over the next 6 months, I would hold this. If I have the option of holding this or holding OMI over the next 6 months, I'd rather hold OMI. So it's actually a good suggestion. I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. I wasn't aware of this. And it just sounded, a lot of times when people use like multi-bank group, it just sounded like kind of scammy based on the name. Making a little bit more sense now. I couldn't find NAT on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. NAT provides a secondary subsidy to Bitcoin miners. Interesting. Huh. Okay. I know that chart did look like a disaster. And a lot of charts do look like a disaster. Some of my favorite charts actually look like a disaster. I mean, this is one of my favorite charts right here. What does this look like? It does look like a disaster. And this isn't even showing as much history as I would like to be seeing. But essentially, OMI's chart looks like a disaster, and I love it. Here's a better view at the disaster that OMI's chart is, because I like buying low, but there's the way it was falling off the cliff in a way, like a sharp decline. It reminded me of a meme coins chart that had gone wrong when I was looking at the chart. And meme coins, when they go wrong, they often just go off into oblivion, never to come back. But that's not what MBG is at all. And I'm not sure why the chart looked like that, but this is the chart on CoinGecko. It also looked like there was very low volume on it. I imagine there's quite a bit of volume happening on this. So I was thinking it was like a meme coin gone wrong. All right. Cool. Paul, thank you for your time. I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. See you on the other side of the rate cut. Thanks for the picks. Yeah, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see you, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, so everyone, keep your eyes peeled for what Jerome Powell does today. It will somewhat impact liquidity. As you've seen, Paul showed that interest rates have already come down in anticipation of that, because banks actually can set the rate that they borrow from each other at. But it is in fact influenced by what the Fed's rate is at, because they can borrow from the Fed instead. So, yeah, see if that rate comes down. And if rates continue to come down, then major holders are more likely to take their money from bonds and put them in risk-on assets, which crypto is a risk-on asset. And that often brings a lot of liquidity into crypto as rates come down. Cool. All right, guys, thanks so much for this week. Enjoy this wrap. You know what this is all about. We'll see y'all soon.
Came into the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit, right before you could, was told to buy when it was pouring like a rain, make it should. Buy when it's down, don't chase the post that I miss. cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. Principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Why when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling a parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge the game show. Thinking that best run could soon become a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow would be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the games. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be cracking. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes it time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.